Good morning, Steve Zelenardo here with Remax OS Zelenardo Associates. Happy Monday morning. Quick update in the market. Current inventory is down to 11,522 units with 1,353 units. So it's down from last week. What we're hoping for this week is obviously school's out, long weekend's over, and now we should have inventory coming this week. We're hoping this is obviously a hedge. There's also a learning curve through COVID and all the different parameters we had to go through to kind of predict the future. But let's see. Hopefully this week we're going to have an influx of inventory coming in so we can start making some deals. I think even myself personally, we're going to start looking at some refinancing of investment properties, pull out some equity, and we're going to do or purchase another investment property. Because even now, there's one property that we saw over the week. It's still kind of sitting right now. It's a fourplex. It's cash positive. It's something that I'd like to own. So I think it's about time we start looking at raising funds and then holding the money until there's something like this property now currently on the market that I'd like to buy personally and have it as one of our investments. But talking about inventory too, it's like, where's all this inventory going? Like, we're down, inventory sales are down. Where's this inventory going? So I did a little bit of a deep dive this morning to kind of see what's happening. And so here we got 725 listings that disappeared in which categories. So we kind of looked at or that actually just disappeared, and there's other categories to look at where inventory is going. And number one is suspended units, suspended listings, and also terminated listings. So there's two different segments. So if we go into suspended listings, out of all the GTA in Toronto, there's 134 units that actually were suspended. So suspended listings usually didn't sell, didn't get the price we want. We're going to sit tight. We're just not going to sell anymore. We're going to stay in the house. That's usually what happens with a suspended listing. And then there's a terminated section. So terminated section, we had 591 units. So combined, we're at 725 units that reflect the inventory. So last week we're at about, I think it was 12,500 units. So think about 725 units that were terminated or suspended combined. So there's a huge portion of that inventory going somewhere. This is that huge portion of that inventory that went somewhere. So terminated listings, usually what happens is a few categories. The first category is you listed it for a bidding war, it didn't sell, so ultimately you just kind of terminated it, relisted it at a higher price. So I can't follow all these if they got relisted, but reflecting the inventory is still low. I don't think they came back on the market. That's just my guess. Second category is basically it's sitting on the market too long at a high price, and you have terminated it off the market. You're going to enjoy the summer and then list in the fall, or you've terminated it and readjusted the price at a lower price. Or the third category is basically you basically terminated the listing, and maybe you chose the wrong realtor. It wasn't a good relationship. You've kind of backed out of that signed contract together, and you're going to relist with another agent. So there's definitely a few categories, but there's 725 of these units that represent the inventory. And then if you kind of look at basically days on market, I think the days on market was probably at the low point 10 to 11 days. That's usually bidding war section, and at the high point it's at that 100-day mark. So those are always overpriced listings that were set on the market and didn't get any activity, or the sellers are not budging, thinking that the market is still in the March, April transition point where everything was just selling on fire, so they're not getting the money they want, so they're basically held tight. Now they've totally canceled their listing. So that's pretty much what's going on there. And another good news or more good news is that lumber costs actually have come down. So lumber costs in the height, I believe it was May 7th, was $1,686 US per one board foot, which one board foot, I had to look this up this morning, is basically 1 inch thick by 1 foot wide by 1 foot long. So it's 144 cubic feet or something of that nature. So that's basically how they measured. So that particular piece of wood, 1 inch thick, 1 foot wide, 1 foot long, is worth 1,686 US board feet, which is, or that's what that's worth, which is kind of crazy. And now it's actually come down about 55% to 756 USD for that same measurement, the one board foot. So you kind of look at the prices are coming down. There's a few reasons for this. The sawmills have ramped up. There's 3,000 sawmills in the U.S. that have ramped up, double shift. They're trying to meet the demand. Also, I believe in the other section of that they're not really mentioning it is basically builder developers not building. They have projects that were sold and ready to build, and they're not going to build. They're just going to sit tight because building materials are too high. And I think that's very prudent prudent on them too, because ultimately, if you sold a property a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when you sold it on plan, and then ultimately you got your fixed costs, your construction costs, and everything, labor costs, everything should stay the same. If there's some fluctuation, it's enough with the profit margin at the end of the day to kind of offset that. But if your lumber costs go 5-6 times more than what you've anticipated in the inception of the sale, ultimately there's zero profit for you at the end. So why would you build? It doesn't even make sense. So a lot of builder developers just sitting tight and waiting for things to sit tight and watch the prices go down, which is what's currently happening now. And it's what's happening is even the lumber, sawmills and stuff like that, you get a little greedy, let's face it, and they're looking at this, Holt Renfrew prices where you're going to sell one board foot for $1,700 USD, where it was probably, before COVID, we're probably at $400 or $500, even $300, I think, USD, and now you're at $1,700. So they're making more profit and doing less. But ultimately, builders will find other suppliers, or not suppliers rather, they'll find other ways or other materials to kind of offset the wood costs, right? It's the lumber cost. So I think that's what they're putting a little bit of a pinch on the sales of lumber rather, because nobody's buying. So I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make that equilibrium where it makes sense for a buyer to purchase their product, and it's basically that Holt Renfrew Walmart effect. I mean, you can buy a pair of jeans at Holt Renfrew for $600, blue jeans with threads, and you can buy a pair of blue jeans with threads at Walmart for $40. So, which is a wealthier company rather, Holt Renfrew or Walmart? Obviously, the company that's selling it in volume. So that's what's going to happen with the building materials. They're going to have to offset and adjust so someone buys something. And that's pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions, you always reach out to me on my socials or direct message me on my cell, 647-962-4372. Have a good one. Bye-bye.